Hey everyone, welcome to Monday, September 12th, Leadwell Legacies weekly call. Tonight's call is super exciting because we have a badass rock star who's going to come on and talk to us about fear, about getting through fear, about what 21 days of an ultimate reset did for her and how she got her game back on. And she's here to teach some of us who are stuck, who lost weight, who gained it back, and we don't know what to do, myself included, Elena, how to get over these obstacles. While I was talking to Elena about this call, listening to her enthusiasm, to how happy and excited she was about everything that happened in those 21 days, I can honestly tell you guys that I'm doing the ultimate reset in October. She has me convinced. And then I'm going to owe my next transformation to you. So, guys, I leave you with one-star diamond, badass Elena, who's going to tell us some exciting news of her journey.
Thank
the floor
is
yours, love.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. I did a presentation. Okay, see if I can do this. Can you let me know once you can see it? Can you see it? Melissa?
Yes, my love. I'm sorry. I thought you could see me.
Oh, no. So this is the awkward thing. I literally cannot see anybody. I can only see my presentation, so it's so weird. But you can see me and the presentation, right?
Yes, I can, my love.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you so much, Melissa. Okay, so I am so freaking excited to be doing this. If you know me, you know that this is my jam, like this is my thing. But as I was practicing and getting ready for this presentation, I started to get really nervous. I have all this like pent up energy inside now because this is the first time I'm doing a presentation where it's not a content, it's not something I'm teaching, and it's not something that I'm saying about somebody else. This is the first time I'm doing something about me. And I feel super exposed and super vulnerable. But one of the things I've learned is that the more that you share your story, the more vulnerable you are, the more that you inspire people and people appreciate that. And I feel like that is one of the purposes that I'm here to fulfill, period, in life. And so I hope and I prayed right before this call that I can serve at least one of you guys, if not all of you, with my story. And I hope that I inspire somebody today. Okay, so who am I? So I am Elena. I was born and raised in the Bronx. I'm 28 years old. I graduated from an Ivy League institution, and then I pursued my master's degree from a private institution. I am a daughter. I'm not a mother. I am a daughter, a sister, an aunt, a godmother, a friend. And the thing that I'm most proud of is I am the daughter of immigrant parents. My parents immigrated from Honduras to the United States about 30 years ago, just a little bit before I was born. And it was to pursue better opportunity for us, for their kids. I was the only person in my family that was born here. And because of that, it was from as little as I can remember, it was instilled in me that I was to amount to greatness, that I was supposed to take advantage of any opportunity that came my way to make sure that I could be the best professional woman that I could be. And so I did that. My identity is immensely wrapped around my education, my career, my profession. And it's something that I carry with so much pride. It's something that I've worked hard for, and it's something that has major value and impact in who I am today. But one part of me that I'm not the proudest of, that I have struggled with, has been my self-image. If you see this girl on the left, she is 215 pounds in 2012. I had just was finishing up graduate school, and I didn't stop at freshman 15 when I was in college. I gained 15 and then 10 and 10 and 10. I gained 10 to 15 pounds every year after I started college. So that's a lot of weight. You do the math. And by the time I finished graduate school, I was really nervous. I was nervous about going out into the work field and workforce, not because I didn't feel competent that I could do an amazing job, but because I looked like that. And that didn't make, I was going to work with kids. My background is in education and school counseling. I was going to start working with young adults. And I thought in my head, what message am I going to be giving people when I looked like that? I looked unhealthy. I felt unhealthy. I didn't feel my best. How could I be giving advice to anybody when I couldn't even take my own advice in terms of my health? And so I knew something had to change. And to be quite honest, as embarrassing as this is, the whole thing that jump-started this was a breakup. And so in 2012, I broke up with a long-term boyfriend, and I was like, well, he loved me like that, but I need to get this right. And while he loved me as much as he did, I didn't love myself, to be quite honest. I didn't feel good about myself. So it wasn't about the breakup. It was the fact that I needed to feel good for myself. And I also wanted to present myself in the best way possible in the professional world. So I started my weight loss journey. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I started at Planet Fitness because it was cheap, but I didn't know what I was doing. I would go there and kind of just like go on the treadmill, but that wasn't really doing anything. And that was frustrating. So then I transferred over to an all-female gym, female-only gym, Lucille Roberts. And instead of trying to figure out the machines, I started doing the fitness classes, and I became a fitness class junkie. I fell in love with everything, especially Zumba. Anything that you can think of, I was doing it. Zumba, Pilates, yoga, cardio, kickboxing, boot camp, everything. And the pounds were starting to come off. But then they started to kind of like taper off. And I was like, damn it, what's happening? Like, why am I no longer losing weight? And it was because I wasn't dialing into my nutrition. And so at that point, I started really focusing on my nutrition, again, not knowing what I was doing. And I kind of just Googled things, asked questions, and just kind of figured it out on my own. And once I put those two together, it was a lot better. And I started to pick up on the weight loss again. Now, the way that I treat my nutrition today to back in 2012 is completely different. I mean, at that time I was making very small substitutions, but because I was so overweight and it was the first time that I had ever done something like this in combination, it was working, right? And then another obstacle happened. I found out that I had PCOS, or had PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome, which in essence is a medical condition where cysts grow around your ovaries. And it causes hormonal imbalances, which makes it really difficult to lose weight. And while it causes a bunch of other things that right now are not really relevant, the biggest concern for me was the fact that I was I was overweight still, and I was going to have a really difficult time continuing to lose weight because of my hormones. So I kept pushing, I kept trucking through. And then an awesome thing happened. I landed a job that I had always dreamed about 4 to 5 hours away in New York, upstate New York, Ithaca, New York, and I moved. But I moved to a place where you need a car for everything and to access anything and everything. And I don't have a license. To this day, I don't know how to drive and I don't have a license. I'm like the epitome of an awful New Yorker. And I didn't know what to do. So for 6 months, I was lost. I just plateaued. I was at 180 pounds and I was like, well, I guess this is it. And then my sister hit me up and she was like, I know you've hit a plateau and nothing is working. You're not really doing anything, because it's true. I wasn't doing anything. And she said, well, why don't you start working out at home? And I was like, oh my God. And honestly, working out at home wasn't anything new to me. It wasn't novelty, but I just didn't want to, right? Like I loved being in fitness classes and I wanted to do that. But the reality was that I had a choice to make. Either I was going to stay the same weight and fixated on the fact that I wanted to be in a fitness class, or I was going to start doing something different that I had never tried before to make it work. So I did. I started working out, broke the plateau, kept losing weight. At that same time, I was in and out of a depression. I was literally drowning and then just a flow, drowning and just a flow. But even then, in that time, I was still losing weight, either losing or maintaining weight. But then it just kind of all hit me at one time, and my depression really just took the best of me, overtook everything. And I stopped working out. I stopped eating healthy, and it was time for me to come back home. And that was really hard. So weird. I practiced this so many times and I didn't cry. And now I'm emotional because I get to share it with other people. But I felt like a failure. I had reached like the epitome of all my hard work academically, achieved it professionally finally. And then I had to just drop it because I was going through a depression, because I couldn't get it together, because nothing was making me feel better. No matter how much I worked out, how many therapists I saw, how much medication I took, nothing was working. And so we decided as a family, my mom, sister, and I, we talked about me coming back home. And that was hard because I was leaving something that I had planned for to something I didn't plan for. I was leaving a job that I saw big picture and long term to come back for my health, which was important, but I didn't have a plan. I was sleeping on my sister's couch. I didn't have a plan. I was blessed and lucky enough, literally by the grace of God, to get a job. I found a job, interviewed, got hired, and started within a 2-week period. And I was blessed for that, right? And I knew that it was time to come home, but it was hard. And it was, for me, it was a failure. So I started a new job and I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I felt like crap. So what happened? I started gaining weight. I wasn't working out. I was overeating, over drinking, and I just wasn't doing anything. I was just anxious, stressed, eating, drinking. That's it. So I gained 40 pounds. So after 2 years of killing myself, trying to lose weight, figuring this out, in less than a year, I gained 40 pounds back. So I already felt like a failure professionally, but now I felt like a failure in my personal life as well. And I didn't know what to do. I became the girl that would start working out on Monday, and by Tuesday, I would fall off. I became the girl that would have meal prepped for the entire week, and then by Friday, I threw everything out because I had eaten out for lunch, dinner, all the meals. I wasn't doing anything. I couldn't get it together, and I started over and over and over again so many times. And then one day, I remember saying, maybe I'm just meant to be fat. Maybe I was meant to be healthy and thin and feel great about myself for 2 years, and that was it. And that made me sad. I mean, I grew up, growing up, my nickname was gorda, chubby, right? And it was harmless, but it was my identity, right? Chubby, big. That was it. And I thought no, that's who I'm meant to be. But then I couldn't help but wonder, why did I always feel so unhappy? And I remember lying down in the middle of the day in bed, feeling numb. I hadn't drank, I hadn't done anything. I was just numb. And I kept thinking about how unhappy, unaccomplished, and uncomfortable I felt. And I kept thinking about how my clothes no longer fit. It's interesting because I work in a high school now, and I felt like a high school student. I remember going to work and thinking about, is anybody going to notice that I'm wearing the same outfit, the same clothes over and over again, and trying to mix it up so that it doesn't look like I'm wearing the same things over and over again? I was embarrassed, and it was what it was. And I was ready to quit. I was ready to give up and just say, I'm just meant to be chubby. I was ready to start buying a whole new wardrobe of size 14 and 16 clothes that I had finally gotten rid of. I was ready to do it all over again and stick there. And then I don't know, I guess this voice inside my heart, my soul, reminded me that this was not it. This was definitely not it. And 2 things came to mind. The first was the fact that I'm a believer in God. And I have faithfully always believed that I wasn't made and brought to earth and designed to feel unhappy and miserable. That was the first thing. And the second thing that dawned on me was that I had a choice. I was making these choices. I was overeating, over drinking, not working out. I was making these choices so I could make the choice to do the opposite so that I could feel better. But at that point, I realized that it wasn't enough to just try to go back and start on Monday again, or try to eat healthy again. That wasn't enough because I had fallen way off track. And so I decided that I needed to reset. And so I reached out to my mom. Isn't it funny how we always run back to mom no matter what, no matter the age? That's what I did. I ran back to mommy. And I ran to her so fast because this is the most hardworking person I have ever met in my life. This is the woman that anything that she has set her mind to, she's going to accomplish. She's gonna get it done. And so I knew I needed that. I needed her close to me. I needed that vibe near me so that I hope that it would rub off and that I could finally get back on track. And I spoke to her and I said, Mommy, I need to reset. I found this cleanse. I want to do this cleanse. Can you do it with me? Can you hold me accountable? And she did. That's her hand on the right and my hand on the left. I hope that you see it the way that I do. But the one with the tattoo is me. And she was my accountability buddy for 3 weeks on my cleanse. So what is the Ultimate Reset? So the Ultimate Reset is a 21-day, 3-week cleanse that focuses on your nutrition 100%, detoxing your body and giving your body a break and cleansing it from all the harmful things that you do to it. Now, for me in particular, I had been doing a lot of damage to my body over the last year, so I really needed something that was just going to expel all of those things. The awesome thing about the Ultimate Reset is that it's a soft cleanse. So it's not something that had me running to the bathroom because I had to poop all the time, but it was a cleanse. I mean, I was drinking a gallon of water daily, so I was running to the bathroom because of that, but not because I had this urgency to have to go, like in terms of number 2. So it's a soft cleanse, completely focused on nutrition along with supplements. There is absolutely no exercise allowed while you're on the Ultimate Resets because your calorie intake is so low that your body is so consumed with cleansing itself and all the energy is focused on that exercising could be very harmful. The only exercise that was allowed to do that I did when I did have the energy was walking and yoga. And so I did that. And then the awesome thing about the reset is that, I mean, it's foolproof. Like anybody can do it. It brings 21 days of recipes, breakfast, lunch, and dinner outlined and like ingredients, spelled out, directions, everything, shopping list. Like it's just handed to you and you just got to do it. And then the most important piece is, or the last piece is that in those 3 weeks, you ultimately go down to a vegan diet. So what that looks like is the first week you start eliminating animal products, animal foods, chicken, poultry, things like that, eggs, and dairy. And then the second week, you're in a vegetarian diet, which is grains, vegetables, and fruit. And then the third week, you're vegan style, just vegetables and fruit. So that's kind of the sum of what the Ultimate Reset was. And for me, it literally was a reset button. And the reason I chose to do a cleanse, besides just feeling like I needed to cleanse my entire body of the junk I had put into it, but also spiritually and emotionally, I felt like I just needed to cleanse myself from all of that. But also nutrition-wise, I had learned when I first lost weight, the first 2 years, was that if I could work out until I was blue in the face, but if I didn't have my nutrition on point, then I wasn't doing anything. And so I realized that in order to really get this right, nutrition was one of the biggest issues I was having. And so I figured, let me do this so that I can get my nutrition right. Because once you have that right, everything else follows. And so I journeyed on 21 days. So how was it? It was so hard and it was immensely rewarding all at the same time. But the rewards and the benefits, I didn't reap them until the very end. It was, and I can take you week by week, very generally how it was. The first week I felt great. It was actually where I lost the most like water weight and felt completely unbloated and felt lighter and felt more energized. I felt amazing. But by the second week, I felt like trash. I was detoxing, my energy was low, I was super cranky, I was so emotional, I felt bloated actually. And then by the third week, I felt pretty like stable. I guess balance is the best way I can describe it. But it was hard because when I planned to do this with my mom, I didn't process in my head that I was going to be taking the only 3 weeks that I had off from work for the summer, I dedicated them to doing this cleanse. And it didn't really process in my head until probably I started it. And then that first weekend, I wanted to party because everybody was going out to hang out, and I couldn't do that. And I remember texting my sister because she was upstate in my brother-in-law's family, with my brother-in-law's family at a pool. And I was just thinking, like, I really want to be by the pool drinking wine. That was it. And I remember texting her, like, this is so stupid. I'm so mad at myself that I did this. And, you know, she tried to make me feel better. But the reality is that there was nothing that she could say that was going to make me feel better. I just had to keep pushing. And I made the commitments, so I just kept pushing. And I had my mom with me, so I just kept pushing. I was very blessed that I had my family and friends on board with me. And so I did go out. Once I figured out how to mobilize with the cleanse, I started hanging out. And if you see my colleagues here on the top and bottom, who are also my friends, they were so awesome. You know, we did yoga together when I could. They made sure that I had, you know, I was breathing fresh air. And, you know, they understood that I needed to make sure I had a bathroom nearby because I might just pee on myself because I was drinking so much water. You know, they knew that I had to stop and eat my supplements and eat my foods whenever at a certain time. And so we were still able to do cool activities, and not as much as I wanted, I think, but in a very different and unique way. Because had I not been doing this cleanse, I probably would have been partying and drinking and eating and making the whole situation just that much worse. But I think the most powerful piece about this whole thing, this whole community, wasn't just my family, my friends, my colleagues, but it was also when I started to share my journey publicly on Instagram and on Facebook. And the reason I really started doing it was because I didn't have anything better to do. I was bored. I was in my house most of the time. So I was like, might as well go on social media and expose my life. And the amazing positive messages that I got, the overwhelming positivity that people shared and encouragement, I can guarantee 100% that people don't recognize how much power that had and how that affected me. And that kept pushing me and pushing me and pushing me. So how did I manage to do this on my 3-week summer vacation when I could have been doing just about anything else? Well, I talked about the first part, which is accountability. I had my mommy, this is her, and I had my friends, family, and everybody else on board. And I exposed myself. I put my journey out there. And honestly, that was probably the best thing that I could do. Having people like strangers, friends, people who don't really see me on a regular basis supporting me, that was like pretty cool. But the other thing was preparation. If you remember earlier, I said, Mommy, I need a reset. We set a time and a date, and we went for it. This is not a cleanse. And just like any workout program, any regimen that you start to do, it's not just something that you just jump into and do like half-assed, really. Like, you gotta think about what you're doing and prepare and schedule your life and your activities around it. This has to become a priority, whether it's a cleanse or anything else that you do in order to get healthy. So we made a plan, we prepared, and it wasn't just about planning the schedules, right? Like planning my outings when I was able to finally mobilize, but it was also planning the meals, going to the supermarket, the shopping list, all that good stuff that makes all those little things that add up in the end to have a successful meal or week or whatever it is. And then the third part is commitment. And really with commitment, I think I definitely mean more around mindset. It was an hourly, daily, weekly struggle to stay on to do this. And I literally had like these two little voices, like, you know, the two little, like the devil and the angel, like always like, you know, give up and do this and do, right? Like, and then there was like, no, stick to it. Like, it was this constant battle that I had to, I was always facing, and I had to be mindful of that and attract and stick to the positivity as much as I could. But self-awareness was completely essential during this process. So here are my results. Okay. So I have never shared with anybody these publicly except my sister, who took them, and my mom. And I'm actually quite ashamed of them. And I'm going to flip back and forth between them so you guys can see. I'm actually ashamed because there isn't a difference. There's a difference in my face if you look at these two, but there isn't really a difference anywhere else. And I was so frustrated when I saw these because I remember seeing other people's results and their waistline like disappeared. And I was like, I can't wait for my waistline to just like go down and my stomach to look so much better. And it didn't. And I was so angry. And I had to check myself because I had to realize, okay, these 3 weeks couldn't have just been about 13 pounds and 8 inches. It had to be about so much more than that. And I started to reflect and think about what else have I gained or lost because of this process. The biggest one obviously was tapping into my nutrition. I built a great amount of momentum when it came to getting on a fitness program and following my nutrition. But above all of that, when I started to think about what are the non-scale victories, what don't the numbers always say? And it was the fact that I had to wonder, why couldn't I do this before? Why did it take me 2 years to lose 50 pounds? Why did I struggle when I knew what to do? Why did I struggle so much to get back on track? And the reason was because I didn't have any discipline. Zero. No discipline. And when I first started the cleanse, I thought it was because I didn't know how to eat right. But then by the end of the cleanse, I realized that the root of the problem was the fact that I didn't have any discipline, no consistency, no value for hard work, hands down. And the fact that I was able to stick to something religiously for 21 days, every single day, it taught me the art of discipline. And I started to realize that if I just changed my mindset around this whole losing weight thing, if I started working on building a character trait, self-discipline, if I could work on that, the rest would come. So if I, in my mind, instead of focusing on, I'm going to lose 2 pounds this week, instead of, I'm going to work out every single day, Monday through Friday, 5 a.m., and eat healthy every single day, daily little things, self-discipline, then that will all lead, like everything else will follow. It would all lead to weight loss. And it did, right? Because first it was the first 21 days of the cleanse. And then after that, I jumped on a program. And it's been, I think, a total of like 10 weeks between the cleanse. And I'm like 7 weeks into my program. And I have now went from the girl who was quitting every Tuesday to the girl who works out at 5 a.m. every day, to the girl who eats her meal prep every day. And I feel so good. And guess what? Now I'm not worried about if I'm wearing the same clothes, because I'm not, because I fit into my clothes again. And while that might seem something very superficial, it's just one of the many positive or non-scale victory things that you can't see in a number, right? And so I leave you with the fact that now I'm halfway through losing the weight that I gained. I gained 40 and lost 20 in 10 weeks. And it didn't, I don't know at what moment, it didn't hit me right away. Halfway through in 10 weeks. It took me 2 years to lose 50 pounds because I had no idea what I was doing. And now that I do, and I do it daily, these are the results. And so for the person who's thinking about giving up, who thinks they're supposed to be fat for the rest of their life and unhealthy and feel miserable, I want to tell you that that's just not true. And I hope that what I shared with you today has an effect, helps you wake up, helps you realize that you need to reset. You need to do something that is going to shake you. Find what works for you. This worked for me. This may not work for you. It may, I don't know. But what I want to tell you is that this is not it. You are meant to feel good about yourself. You're meant to feel amazing about yourself. And I promise you that if you make the decision and you make the commitment to do it every single day, in the end, you will reap those benefits and you will never regret 3 weeks of your summer vacation, a Labor Day weekend, hanging out with your friend for their 30th birthday, what have you. So, Melissa, thank you so much for having me. I am so excited that I was able to share this with anyone. And if anyone has any questions, I'm open to questions or whatever.
Wow. 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 I don't know that I want to wait till October 3rd now. I think I want to like rush this reset because you have me here literally trembling. Elena, you're amazing. Guys, Elena had an accountability partner, which is probably the most important person in her life, who we all know is a badass. And I see Gabby with her eyes full of tears there. And I was crying with you, Gabby, because I know what your mommy means to you. I need a partner for October 3rd. Who's joining me? Because I'm doing this. And Elena, I'm going to be calling you every single day.
Yes, please.
You don't mind, that's why I will. Does anybody have any questions for Elena? Any questions on the reset that you've been wanting to ask somebody and never been able to? Or haven't had the courage? This is the time, guys. I did the reset 3 years ago when it first came out. And all those emotions, as you were expressing them, Elena, is exactly what I went through. I, however, didn't finish the reset. I went to day 17, and my beautiful sister and cousins celebrated my birthday. Yeah. And I was down. I was almost very close to 13 pounds, but I don't think I've ever leaned out so much in my life.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's really amazing. And I think the one thing I want to say is that it's different for everybody, right? Like I remember for some people, like the first week they felt like crap, and then the second week they felt amazing. But for me, it was the reverse. So everybody's experience is going to be totally different. In terms of a cleanse, I just want people to be very cognizant of the things that they choose to put in their body and do. There's so many different cleanses out there, and they can be really scary. And I'm not the type of girl to just kind of do whatever, because I mean, I told you about all the like medical issues that I have. So I just want to encourage you that if you're not eating, like that's not okay. And I think somebody said, like, how many times do you eat? I ate 3 times a day, like huge meals. Like mommy and I couldn't finish them huge. Like I had never eaten an obscene amount of leaves in my life. So I'll just leave it at that. There's no coffee.
Elena.
No dairy.
Do you mind sharing with us what happened when you started making these amazing recipes and how you felt about not having dairy at some point and not having protein? Like, were you scared?
Yes, I was like, I'm Latina and I need meat and I need cheese and I need carbs. I need all the things. So like what's going to happen to me? Like I had never done anything like that. Like I have a colleague who's a vegetarian and I'm like pescatarian. I was like, bro, how do you do that? Like nobody got time for that. And it wasn't bad at all. It felt really good. And I was like, oh, like it just became, it was easy. Like it sounds weird, but like I didn't miss it. I didn't. I would say by the 3rd week, because your calorie, like there is a huge deficit in your calorie by the 3rd week. I mean, it's literally just leaves and fruit. By then I did start to feel it. And not that I missed chicken or meat or anything like that. It's just, I miss like having a little bit more substance, like, cause I didn't have greens and things like that. One thing I learned is that I am not about the vegan life. Vegetarian, maybe. Pescatarian, possibly. But you know, I eat chicken again now and fish and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I was scared too. I remember looking at these recipes and thinking, oh my God, why did I commit to this? Like, why am I going to do this? And I remember being stuck when I saw that taco, which was the brown rice and the beans. I don't know if you ever had that.
Yeah.
The kale and the pine nuts. I was like, okay, how the heck are we going to do this? And I fell in love. Like, you don't need meat. I think that was my go-to every time I was bored the first week. I was like, this is what I'm going to eat. And I loved it. So many choices. And that's what
I mean, like I said, there was like over 15 new recipes, new foods that I tried that I still kind of go to now. Out of all of those, I think there was one that I didn't like. And I think someone asked about like stress levels. Yeah, you know, this is why I didn't do it while I was in school, because I probably would have killed one of my students. I mean, like, I don't know how it's going to affect everybody's, you know, emotions and all that stuff. But I think that the one thing I can say is that, you know, don't let these things get in your way. Prepare. Find a way around it. Make sure whatever, you know, somebody said like that, I have kids. Yeah, that's going to be hard. I mean, mommy and I, we didn't want to look at each other sometimes. But, you know, what I've learned at the end of all of this, because this was really hard. This was completely out of my comfort zone. It was so different from anything I had done. I realized that all the shit I had ever said, point blank, was just excuses. Whatever it is you're thinking in your head, it's an excuse. the time, your job, the gym, your kids. I mean, all of that stuff is just an excuse. It's all it is. And I think that might sound harsh, but some of you guys need to hear that, because we make excuses all the time about why we can't do X, Y, and Z, but we're so used to saying them that we don't even recognize them as excuses. But they really are. If somebody is in the same situation as you and they were able to do it, is an excuse. Just think about it like that. If you can think of one person who's doing it and is in the same situation as you, it's an excuse.
Amen. Now, Elena, you were thanking me for this call, but the person behind this call that you have to thank is actually your sister. She saw how amazing and how great you sounded after this call, and she was the one who said, I think we need my sister on a call. She was doing, hey, hallelujah, because I've been dying for somebody who actually went through it and went through all those emotions to actually come and share. Because like I said, I failed at it, but I won't in October because I'm going to look really hot.
I can't believe it.
So who's joining?
If anyone has questions at any point ever, guys, feel free to, shoot me a private message or whatever it is.
Yes, her information was on the last slide, and if you guys need it, we're more than happy to share.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so if everybody's done, nobody has any questions, we're going to close this call. Elena, thank you so much. God bless you and your beautiful family.
Thank you.
Once again, for sharing with us. You are amazing.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye.
Thank you.